Come on, people. Let's look forward now. Positivity. Away days match preview. Come on, let's go.
I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front post! He scored! Barry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that line to throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me outside? Yeah, slipping low key and high, yeah, it's my rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those times, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high.
Here we go. Back again for another match preview on Loaded Mag NUFC. Welcome to Away Days. And yes, let's look forward because that was not pleasant last night. But hey, a new game, a new opportunity to get 3 points on the board. So let's do it. Tottenham Hotspur against Newcastle United. Boys, how are we feeling ahead of this game on Sunday? Chris, talk me through it, mate. And first of all, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm good. So yeah, I'm glad. Do you know what? I'm really actually quite pleased that we did that Everton reaction show just then because, you know, like Daz said, you know, we can shake it off. It's out of the system. It's done. It's forgotten about.
Dubravka.
Yeah, like Dubravka. Yeah. So yeah, we can get that out of our system. But yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Really long week in work, so really looking forward to the weekend, and hopefully Newcastle don't ruin it at R4 on Sunday. Hopefully, but yeah, I'm feeling. I feel like this game's got more. It's more important now. And not wanting to put any extra pressure on the lads, but, you know, we really need a performance now on Sunday because they can't follow it up with a poor performance on Sunday after last night. So I'm feeling positive and I'm hopeful is what I'd say.
Daz, are you as hopeful as Chris is with the game ahead? Or, you know, is that performance yesterday set a little bit of doubt in? What are you thinking, fella?
Well, I was depressed 5 minutes ago. I'm absolutely optimistic now. Maybe I'm bipolar. I don't know what I am. But yeah, no, look, it's going to be a difficult game. Both sides coming off a defeat. So we both can't lose. I'll leave it at
that. Well, hopefully. Hopefully we don't. But look, I think there's an opportunity there. I do think the way in which Tottenham play is very different to Everton, and I think that might well play in our hands, and that's what I'm holding on to right now. But I'm sure we'll talk about it as the show goes on. But welcome to everyone in the chat. Welcome to everyone that's crossed over from the review show. Just do us a favor, first and foremost, housekeeping. Give us a like, and if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this and you're a Tottenham fan, just give us a sub. Show your support to the channel. It means the world to us, and all the algorithms and everything else on top of that. But look, let's not beat around the bush. Let's get the main man in. And he's been here before, so you know all about him. And it's Marlon from the South View. Come on, you Spurs podcast. So welcome in. Marlon, sorry. How you doing, fella?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. You know what? Every time these Newcastle games come around, I'm always looking forward to coming on here now. I love Newcastle fans, but I think after last time, I was so downbeat about Spurs, and I said to you guys, we're going to absolutely tear us to pieces, and you absolutely did. But I'm not there anymore. I've moved on. So hopefully now it's going to be a bit more of an even playing field.
Definitely. And it definitely is, because we are on an even playing field, having lost our most recent games. So we've talked enough about the Everton game last night at Goodison Park. But for you guys at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I'm not going to lie, Marlon. I thought that was going to be a bit of a banker, you guys taking the points against West Ham, and it didn't quite work out that way. And West Ham snuck the win after you took the lead. And look, just watching that, seeing it unfold, and then the result at the end, just what are your thoughts about that game in general? I know you're probably not going to want to talk about it again, but just for the Newcastle fans on this channel, just talk to us about it, mate.
Look, at the present moment, I think for Spurs this season, I think we've had 2 bad games, which we'll go and sit there and go, we were awful. But in every single game this year, we're doing exactly as we've done yesterday. Start fast, be completely over the team, get an early goal, and then we can't seem to score a second. That's all it is. That's our biggest problem right now. We just can't seem to score a second, and it's been a problem all season. Now, if you look at the 2 goals we conceded yesterday, another familiar thing, mistakes. Like the first goal, you can't vouch that. It literally hits 2 buttons, and he's standing right there and gets straight to him. And then the second goal, mistake by our player, leaves a short back pass, goalkeeper doesn't get his hand on it, and it's just they're walking it in the net. And that seems to be the common theme of all our goals this year. And if you look at the game that we had last year at the Knicks, mistakes that cost us in that first game, where Hugo Lloris gives it straight to Wilson. So
yeah,
right now it's a case of I saw Trippier's mistake yesterday. I watched the 15 minutes of when he done it, and I was just like, I kept telling you guys, that's the Trippier we had at Spurs. That was him.
Wow.
Right? And seeing him what he's been doing in the Newcastle shirt, it's when he has to defend, this is him. And this is why when we have different contrasts of what it was all right last year, he was attacking, and that's what he's good at attacking. But when he has to sometimes defend, and in certain situations he switches off, and that's exactly what he did yesterday. So I'm not surprised that I'm starting to see the Trippier that was at Spurs. That's how I see him at the moment. He's great for assists and getting things, but you lot have got strikers. When he was with us, Harry Kane used to do it all by himself. And for us right now, that £100 million that we got in the summer, we're now starting to regret. We've got nobody to finish these chances. We will create so many. Look, you'll see it on Sunday. In the first 20 minutes, half an hour, will blow you away. But that'll be it. And Eddie Howe just needs to make a tweak. He'll see what's going on. And then we'll just fade. We'll fade in the second half. I can see it all now.
It's as easy as that, Daz. Hold them out.
That first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we're good. we're good and golden. But what do you make of Marlon's thoughts, Daz, with regards to Kieran Trippier? Because it's quite interesting saying that obviously from a Tottenham perspective when he was there, normally making mistakes, and we haven't seen too many of them, have we?
No, not at all. That's controversial. That opinion, Marlon.
It was controversial last time when I said it as well, so don't worry.
Wow. No, he's been immense for us, and we even said in the last show he's been one of our best signings after the takeover, and a real leader on the pitch and off it. You can't get away from the assists, but he's been class for us. It's just. Yeah, the Everton game yesterday, just that was the first time I've seen a blip in his copybook. But I'll allow him one.
Sure. You can. We had it every week with him, so it was that's. And this is what I'm saying. Like what I saw of Kieran Trippier last year, for us Spurs fans, it was a complete surprise. It took us all by surprise. We were like that. If that was the Kieran Trippier we had when Cole Walker left, we would never have sold him to Atletico Madrid. We would have kept him. He would have been absolutely brilliant. But as typical with anyone who joins Spurs, they become Spurs and they have to leave to go get their confidence back and everything like that. So, yeah, just seeing that last night, I was like, hopefully that's the Trippier we'll see again on Sunday if he plays.
I'm not going to lie, Marlon. I thought you were going to use the word Spursy then. But you didn't.
I'm not allowed to this season. We've been told off. But basically, I'll talk about Ange. Ange has completely changed our club around. Right, and when I say where we were towards the end of last year, I think a lot of our Spurs fans were like, "Oh, here we go." But this season, even the last 5 games, even though we've lost them, how many teams will sit there and go, after I was disappointed when we lost 4-1 to Chelsea and be clapped off? Like, you just don't see that. The result was so bad, you just don't see it. But Spurs at the moment, it's such a positive vibe at the club. Even these last 5 games or 4 or 5 games that we've had, even the Man City result, it's been a complete contrast. And I think that at the moment, for us Spurs fans, we know it's going to be a slow process. We know it's going to take time. For us, as long as our chairman backs our manager, then we can see light at the end of the tunnel. But the board at the moment, especially in a few weeks, and especially with these injuries that we've got as well, he's got to back him. Otherwise, we're done for.
Interesting, very, very interesting. Speaking of injuries, we're not shy.
Masters of that.
Yeah, we literally are. But Chris, some positivity creeping in for Newcastle United. Apparently, Eddie Howe was heard saying in his because they do the post-match press conference, and then they do the next game press conference when the games are so close in quick turnaround. And Eddie Howe has said that there's a chance that Callum Wilson and Longstaff are back in the squad by Sunday, which is a massive, massive boost, potentially for Newcastle. Not confirmed, but I'm sure we'll wait and see. But how big would that be for Newcastle United, mate?
It'd be massive. It'd be massive, and no more so, Pete, than what you were just talking about then on our Everton reaction show. Anyone who hasn't watched it, watch it back. It's a bit depressing, but still great. When you were saying that, Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson both thrive off each other, they feed off each other in the competition. So having Callum Wilson back would be huge. And let's be honest, Callum Wilson's not getting any younger, but Callum Wilson's a goal scorer. And if you give him an opportunity, invariably he'll put the ball in the back of the net. So having him back and just having options, lads, just having the option to bring a sub on would just be brilliant, And if players are getting tired or he wants to shake the system up or try something different, it's great having those options. And at the moment we've not had that, and an opportunity to give a few of the lads who've been playing relentlessly week in week out a bit of a rest. So I'm all for that. Who was the second person you said, Pete? Barnes, did you say?
Longstaff.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. And I'm wondering, I'm trying to, this is the thing now with Eddie Howe, isn't it? You're always trying to second guess them, because for me, I thought the next two who were on the, the return to fitness list were probably Botman and Barnes. So the fact that he's saying Longstaff and Wilson is interesting. But yeah, Sean Longstaff again, that centre midfield where we work so hard and, the pressing game's so high. To have those extra legs is invaluable, and Sean Longstaff has been a miss, as well as Lewis Miley's done. He's been absolutely fantastic. I can't knock him. To have Sean Longstaff back in there, it just provides us with another option. So the more bodies that come back, the better. I wasn't expecting those two names, but I am really, 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 really hopeful that is the case.
Definitely, we need those sort of players back. We need them fit and firing. But what are your thoughts about that, Dad? And kind of in addition to what Chris has said, he mentioned a player that I was going to talk about, and it's Harvey Barnes. I'm not going to lie, I thought he'd be back by now. Is that concerning in any way for you, Daz? But just in general, potentially with Wilson and Longstaff back, does that change your mind in any way in terms of how we approach this game? Would you potentially look at maybe making some changes?
Yeah, well, first on Barnes, I remember seeing a picture of him at the beach or something with a walking a dog. So I presumed he's not far off coming back, but we need him back, and because he hasn't really, he is going to be like a new signing because he only got a bit of a start with us. Whoever comes back, though, we just need bodies to be able to mix it up, to be able to change a game as well. Like Miley hasn't put a foot wrong, and I'm not saying Longstaff will go straight back in there, but it's just that option to be able to switch and fatigue element. I agree with what you said in the reaction show, Pete. Wilson and Isak do feed off each other and they challenge each other and they bring the best from each other. So just knowing that Wilson is going back or starts ahead of Isaac, because Isaac has he has kind of played within himself, because he's the only striker we have apart from trying to play Gordon up there. But the more they come back, the better, and the quicker.
Definitely. Marlon, we're going to switch tact a little bit, just because it'd be rude not to talk about this man. How as Big Ange, how was your mate? I'm just going to try and say mate as many times as I possibly can, mate. How has he transformed your team this season? And what do you expect moving forward in terms of, where you see yourself in the league this season off the back of him coming in?
So I can't sit there and speak more highly of this man. I literally can't. It took me 45 minutes of football to be turned by him. So we had a friendly against West Ham in the summer, and it was our first friendly. It was all the Harry Kane rumours. It was everything. He had to deal with a lot when he came in. There was a lot going on at the club. It was literally in a mess. And it took me 45 minutes worth of football. We were 3-0 down, and I went, this is the man. I saw enough in those first 45 minutes to know that he's going to take us forward. And just seeing just the way he's come in, just seeing the ways with the media. We haven't had a personality in the media since probably Martin Jol. Even Pochettino got it towards the end. Even he's not great with the media, and you love it when other clubs love your manager. And it's for us, it's always a case of when Arsenal fans can't sit there and say a bad thing about our manager right now. Even they like him. But it's all right liking him. It's then actually what he then brings to the football pitch. And he has brought an attacking side of football that we have probably not seen under this ownership. And that goes for any manager. Not even under Poch, we have not seen this type of attacking football. But what he's been so great in, he's interacted with the fans. He has done everything we kind of want from a manager, and I think that's the biggest thing right now. And there was just lifting that big cloud that we had in that summer. We thought we were going to go on a merry-go-round where we have to interview 11 managers again, and all of them rejecting us because they can't get on with the board and what they're asking for. But he's come in, he's done exactly what he said. Even at the beginning when we were top after 10 games. He went to the fans, don't get carried away. This is not sustainable and everything like that. And then that one game against Chelsea 5 games ago, and everything's just collapsed around us. But at the end of the day, it's apart from the Wolves game in that last 5 games, we've been in it. Every single game we've been in it, and if not, should have probably won. Against Chelsea at 2-1, 9 men, Bentancur, Son, both missed chances. Right, we got 9 men, and with it could have ended 2-2. Wolves was just, I won't even go into it. Villa probably came out of that game and went, how the hell did we get 3 points? Right, Man City kind of went, first half we were terrible, we were bad, but he managed to keep it going. And I don't know what Man City took when Doku went off. Man City's game completely changed, and everything just fell into our favour. And it was literally, again, we played great football. And that's the key thing right now. It's so entertaining. But it reminds me a lot of Kevin Keegan back in the day. You just don't know if you're going to win 4-3 or lose 4-3. And that is the way it is at the moment. And I went to the Liverpool game, the VAR incident. But you could tell the atmosphere with everyone's on the same page. And that's the biggest thing right now of our club. The results are secondary. Just getting us back as a fan base and united was a big key thing, and he's done that. And the one thing we all said in the summer is, if we have injuries, we're going to collapse, and that's exactly what's happened. We've collapsed, but we haven't collapsed in the way that we're getting smashed. It's just a case of we're not finishing off our chances, and that's all it is. That's why I said £100 million down the drain, because we knew he was going all summer. We knew he was going the summer before. And all we didn't replace him. We just haven't replaced him at all. And that's the biggest thing. And it wouldn't surprise me, because I think, from the sounds of it, I don't think Son's going to be playing Sunday. So, for you guys, I'm like, if Richarlison's going to be playing up front, oh, here we go. but it wouldn't surprise me if it's one of them games where Charleston turns up for.
Yeah.
And it'll just be what he does.
Yeah.
Everyone's hoping Son's out, but Son's been awful the last few games. He's been awful. So actually, Richarlison's not really played, and actually this might be the game where he comes in and he is the man up top. I'm not going to say it's going to happen because he's been awful too, but Son hasn't been great for us. He hasn't, and I can't even say that I'm slightly confident going into Sunday, but I just don't know. To be honest, it doesn't matter who's up top for us at the moment because we'll create it. Someone just needs to finish it, and we need to have another Man City where we get all 3 chances and we score. That's what needs to happen.
Marlon, you said that Son might be out. Richarlison might come in and have a worldie.
Yeah,
I'm willing to take that chance.
I agree.
I'm willing to take that chance. If Son is not in there, he's capable of whipping and bending the ball into the top corner from absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no,
Richarlison is more than capable of getting the ball and whipping it and bending it into Rosette, and I'll take that all day long. I'm gonna lie, but yeah, we were gonna talk about it, to be fair, because I sent something to the lads earlier on, and I've lost it. I'll try and find it in just a second. Yeah, it was just a picture of Son, because we were going to bring him up as a topic of conversation, and it did look like he was in significant pain. I don't know, because I didn't watch the game myself, Marlon, so you might be able to fill in the gaps here. But he got some sort of injury and he got brought off when you were still chasing the game, which rings alarm bells to me, because normally if you're trying to get back in the game, you keep Son on the pitch. But they had to bring him off, and there was an image going around, I think, of a fan looking at the dugout, and he's wincing in pain, and he's in a lot of pain, and you can tell, and it didn't look good. And I think, just from that, what actually happened in that situation? Do you know?
So we don't know exactly what's happened, but I think it's just a case of he's played too many games. And that's the thing. He was injured for South Korea anyway. He got injured while playing for them. And he wasn't, we thought when he came back, we wasn't sure if he was going to play. I can't remember who we had now. The Villa game. We weren't even sure if he was going to play against Villa. But he came back, he said he's okay, he's fine. And he did play South Korea's next game. And I think it's starting to catch up with him. And because, again, we haven't had Richarlison for the last 3 or 4 weeks either. So we've only had Son. And this is the problem now that we're going to have. The same problem we had with Harry Kane. We're just going to overplay these players until they can't walk. And I think Son's in that situation. But the problem that Son has, well, it's not really a problem, that he's the main man for South Korea, right? And he's not going to say he's not going to play for them. So he has to travel. He's traveling back. He lands back on a Friday. He's got 1 day with the team, if they do training in the morning, and then usually he's got the game on the Sunday, because we've been having Sunday games. But sometimes he's having to come back and he's playing the next day. It's look, you can be on how much you want a week, but you can't factor in that. Even our South American players, they can't. Even when they come back, it's just too late. And I remember, I think Arsene Wenger said it. He used to always drop them because he said there was no point in them trying to play the next game because they weren't going to be at full capacity.
You know what? And Chris, Daz, you might have recognised this. Well, you remember under Rafa Benitez? Rafa Benitez used to do exactly the same with us, like our international players that were playing abroad. It was like, I think it was who was it? Was it Colaccini? It might have been at one point, and there might have been it wasn't Colaccini. Who was it? It was playing international football away,
and he dropped them.
It was 1 or 2. It was definitely Mitro, I think, at one point, because he dropped him and he played Gale in response. But there was another. It was in our season that we came back up to the Premier League. I can't think on top of my head who it was, but there was 1 or 2 players that used to go on international duty, and he used to when they came back, he never used to play them. We would go, why are you not playing them? Like, you need to play these guys, and he just wouldn't. I can't remember.
Rondon.
Might have been Rondon. Great shout.
Great shout.
I'm trying to think who it was. And Rafa Benitez was really good with that, because actually that other player he had 2 weeks to coach and work through a tactics with. and then he'd be able to play him for that game and then bring the other guy in once he's had a little bit of rest. And it worked really, really well in that situation. So it's a sign of good management. But like you said, you've got to have the players in order to be able to do it. Now, look, we'll get up the league table. We'll just have a little quick look at the league
It's
table.
close.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. There we go. So at this moment in time, there's a point separating us. Tottenham in 5th. Looking at those Reds. There's a number of Reds there for that form recently. But and then we've got Newcastle, who really and truly should be on 29 points right now. I'm still not over it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just not. It's going to take. It's going to
Let it go. Let it go.
You know when they beat us a couple of years ago, and I think me and Chris, we were both at Goodison, and we had the old that protester chained himself to the post.
Yeah, stop oil.
Yeah,
the Iwobi 1-0.
Yeah. Oh, I've only just got over that.
Yeah,
and I think I got over that when we smashed them 4-1 last season. This is going to take just as long. I'm not going to lie. However, we're 7th in the table, 26 points on the board. Tottenham, 27. What is your aim this season, Marlon? Where do you genuinely see yourself finishing by the end of the season from where you're at right now?
So, and it's a great question, because at the beginning of the season when Ange came in and selling Harry Kane the day before the season started, a lot of us said 9th, 10th, even 8th. But the start that he had on our first 11, that first 11 can compete with anybody, like anybody in the league. And they've shown it, apart from City, which they didn't get a chance to, right? They've shown that they can compete with anybody, because we played Arsenal off the park at the Emirates, right? Again, our own mistakes, letting them score. Liverpool, yes, VAR played a big part in it, but we still played well enough to do what we had to do, right? And Liverpool were hard to break down. This is what people don't realize about that game. Everyone goes, you couldn't beat Liverpool with 9 men. But if you go and stick 6 defenders, Liverpool quality defenders behind the ball, you need quality, and we can't cross the ball. We can't cross the ball to save our lives, right? So if Richarlison does play and we're trying to whip balls in the box, you'll be there all day just heading them out. Lascelles and all that will be just having a joke. It'll be literally, they can have a cigarette if they want, because it's literally, we can't cross. But for us, once we get our 11 back February, because again, we're going to be missing players in January to the AFCON and Asia. So we've literally got a month where we've got 2 games, an FA Cup game, and we're just literally hoping everyone comes back fit. So if we can get through that and still be about 8th or 9th, I think we'll go on a run to the second part of the season. And then I think we've got you guys, City, I think it's Chelsea, or is it Chelsea or Liverpool in April? That's going to be a defining month for us, because everyone goes, this run coming up was going to be our hardest. No, we saw April and went, April's going to be our hardest month, right? Especially to know where you guys are by then as well, right? Liverpool, I think, will be going for the title. I predicted them to win the title from the beginning. So for us, as long as our 11 can stay fit, I think we'll make top 4. If they can't, I think if we end up with the situation we're in now, I think we'll make 6th or 7th.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look, I'll come to you guys. Dad, I'll come to you. Yeah, looking at Tottenham, looking at what they've done this season so far, do you agree with Marlon? Do you think it'll be around 6th or 7th, or do you think they'll be fighting a little bit higher up in the league?
Well, I'm going to borrow your phrase, Pete, and I'm just going to say I'm not going to lie. And Marlon, I'm sorry, but at the start of the season, I predicted Spurs down there where Chelsea are in 10th. I was absolutely shocked with Ange and what he did. Absolutely blown away with, and I knew it wouldn't continue. But what a start to the season you guys have had, and that will keep you thereabouts in the mix for I'm not going to say Champions League places, but the European spots. And I think that's and spending a bit of that money if Daniel Levy lets go some of that cash that he won't want to part with in January, just to keep you in the mix for European competition. But yeah, I can see finishing in 6th, 7th kind of spot. Yeah, that'd be about right for me with Spurs.
Chris, any higher, any lower? Feel like I'm playing Bruce's Price is Right now.
Yeah.
What you thinking with Tottenham, and do you see us in a direct battle for any particular position this season?
Yeah. Well, to start off with what Daz did as well, I've got to be honest, Marlon. I didn't give you a hope in hell this season.
Nobody did.
No, I genuinely didn't. Yeah, mate. Honestly,
Kane,
losing Kane's huge, and then bringing in someone who's had a lot of success in Celtic, not just Celtic, but I thought everyone was jumping on the bandwagon a little bit, and then obviously you had a good start, and it was like, yeah, the wheels will come off soon, and then obviously you kept going and going and going, and yes, you're going through a bit of a difficult period at the moment, but like you say, you have faced a lot of injuries like ourselves. In terms of where I see Tottenham, I think that you will still be up there, but I think that the pace will slow down a little bit. So I agree with what you're saying. I think Tottenham realistically this season can finish anywhere between 4th and 7th. I think it'll be somewhere around there. Depending on any signings you make in January, depending on the injury crisis, which hopefully improves for you. I think you've got a good squad of players, and there's some players who've come in that Andrew's brought in who particularly impressive. I think things are looking up for Tottenham, and I think Tottenham could be one to keep a lookout for next season in terms of really really pushing a bit like what Villa are doing at the moment. Villa have spent a lot of money, and all of a sudden it all seems to be piecing together. But yeah, I think anywhere between 4th and 7th for Tottenham, which I think, and Marlon, tell me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of Tottenham fans would take that and be happy with that.
Yeah, I agreed, because I think the first 10 games kind of blinded us a little bit, and we're being stupid and just going, and title, right? But then the injury crisis did kick in, and now we're looking at going, actually, if we look at where we were day before we played Brentford, a lot of us were going, no, it's not going to happen. Harry Kane's gone, we're done. But to be fair to James Maddison, what a signing. I'm so glad that you guys didn't get him.
You just got over it. No.
I'm not over it. I wanted to see him do this in black and white. This is what I wanted to see. That's cut him off.
I tell you now, right? Like a lot of our Spurs fans, when we signed him, we thought, yeah, he's going to be good, right? We knew he was going to be decent. He was going to be a good signing. But it's one of those situations you don't realize how good he is until you see him in your shirt and in the flesh. And I think a lot of it's been helped by Harry Kane going as well, because I said if Harry Kane was here, I don't think we'd see the same James Maddison, and people going, why? I say, go look at England. A lot of the positions that James Maddison takes up for Spurs is where Harry Kane is. So James Maddison won't need to be there because Harry Kane's doing it, and that's just Harry Kane's game. But him and Son have struck up such a partnership; it's unreal. And that sometimes is what's been getting us over the line. And I think if you go and watch the game against Luton where we scored 10 men, a piece of brilliance, a piece of magic. We ain't had that for years since Eriksen left. So for me, James Maddison's been brilliant, and he's probably been the biggest miss in the last 5 games, and that's the reason why we've completely dropped off. Because I think even if we had all the injuries, but Maddison was still around, I think the Villa game and West Ham game are completely different outcome.
Can I just ask you that quick, Marlon? Do you think Harry Kane will ever return to Tottenham?
Yes, I do. I think after he's done with Bayern, I think he's going to have 2 years there. I think he'll win, obviously, the league this year. I've got a feeling they're going to win the Champions. I said now that they've got him, they'll win the Champions League. I said if you watched Bayern Munich last year against Manchester City, everyone forgets how good they were. They just couldn't finish their chances. They're Choupo-Moting up front. Let's be honest, he couldn't cut it for Stoke, and he wasn't really great for Paris. He wasn't great for Paris Saint-Germain, right? No. But he was just having a decent season for Bayern because it was Bayern, right? But Harry Kane, and a lot of Spurs have tuned into Bayern in the last few weeks as well this season, and they're just a different animal, a completely different animal with Harry Kane. And we try telling people he's world class, but now people are starting to see it because of the numbers he is now pulling up in Germany for Bayern. He's outscoring Lewandowski, and he's outscoring Haaland in Germany, but because now he's doing it for a big club, people are starting to take note. But yeah, for me, I think give it 2-3 seasons, he'll be back, and he'll be back at Spurs. I can't see him going anywhere else. I can't really see him going anywhere else.
Yeah.
Interesting. We wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. He'll want that Premier League record before his career's done.
And he ain't got. I said to people when we were selling him, if he goes and spends 2-3 years in Germany, he's going to be 33. If he plays until he's 36, 37, he only has to score 10 goals a season. He doesn't have to do that, and he can score 10 penalties. And that's the other thing. Spurs haven't had a penalty since he left. So mad. 15 games, no penalties.
Yeah.
The only way that doesn't happen is if you buy top level striker to be a genuine replacement.
Yeah.
But what you've got right now,
Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
Look at it. I'll give you an example. Gareth Bale. We never replaced Gareth Bale. You know who we replaced Gareth Bale with? Gareth Bale when he came back. So it'll be the same with Harry Kane.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Look, let's get to the match now, and let's talk. Let's talk about the match in detail. But of course, the only way we do that on away days is starting with a few stats.
Good evening, lads.
Magic appears. Double O Stato, Keith Roll. How are you this Friday evening? And what stats have you got for us this week? Tottenham away, tough game.
Absolutely tough game. I have scaled the Skywalk as well one time as well. So it's linking I've just about recovered from last night's match, so I've got some stats ready here. Newcastle's record against Spurs since 93-94, they've played 56 times, won 24, drawn 8, and lost 24. So very almost identical stats there. Always lots of goals in this fixture, 177 since 93-94, 89 goals to Newcastle, 88 to Spurs, very identical there almost. Spurs have got a better defensive record than Newcastle with 15 clean sheets to 6 for Newcastle. There hasn't been a 0-0 draw, what I call the White Hart Lane, since Supermac was playing in 1971. And Newcastle's record at White Hart Lane, or the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, since 93-94, they've won 11 games, drawn 3 and lost 16, and that 11 away wins is the best record that Newcastle have got since in the Premier League, tied with West Ham. So they've got a great record down there, and they've had a better recent away record at Spurs as well, with 5 wins, 1 draw, and 5 defeats, compared to the home record where they've only won 3, drawn 2, and lost 6. Goalkeepers, Tottenham Vicario, he's got 4 clean sheets in 15 games this season for Tottenham. Martin Dubravka, he's managed 1 clean sheet in 7 games against Spurs that he's played. Moving on to the outfield players, Lewis Miley became the 6th youngest player in Premier League history to start 4 consecutive games, along with the likes of Cesc Fabregas, Luke Shaw, Wayne Rooney, Nigel Koski, and Gareth Barry. So in good company there is Lewis Miley. Against no side has Joe Linton scored more Premier League goals than he has against Tottenham. 3 goals there he scored against Tottenham. Remember, he's first as well. Son Heung-min is the top scorer for Tottenham. No surprises there this season with 9 goals. He's scored 4 goals and assisted 2 goals in 14 games against Newcastle. Dejan Kulusevski and Christian Romero, they've got 3 goals as well for Tottenham this season. And moving on to the managers, Eddie Howe, his managerial record against Spurs, managed 13 games, won 3, drawn 2, and lost 8. And after a good 10-game unbeaten start of the season, Ange Postecoglou is currently in his longest winless run in British football since he came to Britain with Celtic. 1 draw and 4 defeats in that 5-game winless run. This next little section I'm calling Away Day Blues for Newcastle. Newcastle have won just one of their past 9 away games in the Premier League, with the one win being the 8-0 victory at Sheffield United. And it dovetails nicely with the last time they won away at the end of last season with the 4-1 thrashing at Everton. And Newcastle are now 5th bottom in the away form league in the Premier League. Only Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest, Luton and Burnley have a worse away record than Newcastle this season. Some general stats to round off. Yesterday's home defeat to West Ham meant that Spurs are the first side in history to win 5 consecutive games after going 1-0 up in all of those games, whilst also losing 3 games at home in a row, having opened the scoring. The last time Spurs lost 3 in a row at home was back in 2008. The last time they lost 4 games in a row was back in 2004, when they lost to Man United, Bolton, Charlton, and lost to Arsenal in a 5-4 thriller. In the Premier League history, only Arsenal versus Tottenham with 88 goals, Liverpool versus Newcastle with 87 goals has seen more first half goals than Newcastle versus Tottenham with 86. So, yeah, there's loads of goals in this game. Tottenham have won their past 3 home games against sides that have finished the previous season in the top 4. So that's where Tottenham have really improved this season, which was as many as the previous 16. So they are making significant improvements, Tottenham. And Tottenham have lost both of their Premier League games against Newcastle last season. They haven't lost more consecutively against them since a run of 6 games that they lost between 2006 and 2008. And that rounds off your stats tonight.
Great stats as always, Keith. Brilliant stuff. Love it. Try it out. Come on, let's keep the positivity going. Let's keep the positivity going. That's for sure. Look, let's flip to very quickly the tactics board. There it is. Wonder where it was for a second. Let's have a look at the tactics board and see, from your perspective, Marlon, what team you think you're going to pick now. Obviously, with the number of injuries, it's not really straightforward. So, who do you think? And by the way, Dad, I've not got Hugo Lloris in the squad, so don't worry about it. It's all good.
Don't tell me he's in our squad either, Pete.
No. Not even on 17 grand a week, wouldn't have him. No. Just an inside joke, Marlon. But who's your team and how are you setting up on Sunday with the squad that you've got available?
It's pretty much going to be the same as what we saw probably last night. So Vicario will be in goal, Porro will be right back, Romero, Davis, and Udogie will be across the back.
Romero, Davis, and Udogie. What have you made of Udogie? Has he come in? He's been getting rave reviews from lots of Tottenham fans.
He's excellent.
What makes him so good?
So the way he plays the inverted left back, and that's what we have to call it now, the inverted left back. And there's only 2 other teams that do it: Arsenal and Man City. Right, the way they get their fullbacks to come in and they literally set the midfielders, and then when they need to be wide, they need to be wide. Now, when Arsenal fans were doing the 1 to 11 and they were saying there's no Spurs player that can get into the 11, I knew straight away that none of them would watch Spurs for this season, and that's why they were so surprised when we turned up at the Emirates and did what we did, because Udogie is better than Zinchenko. He defends better and he does go forward better. Yes, Zinchenko has a better cross, but that is it. He can defend, he can come back, and he's quick. And what you find when Maddison was around, a lot of the attacks were Maddison, Udogie, and Son. And they were free for where Udogie was. And all it took, and that's our right hand side was weaker than our left. And at the present moment, when Udogie kind of fell off as well in the last couple of games where he's been suspended, it was kind of like we need him back. But he is such a good left back. He's going to be unreal, and he's only getting better.
He's still really young. I think he's like 21, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's
21.
Do you find that sometimes this season he's been a little bit rash?
No. Yes. Well, that Chelsea game, yes. I can't even defend him for that. But no, because I take the Arsenal game as a prime example. He literally got booked in the first 5 minutes, and all Spurs fans were like, "Oh my god!" And Saka was literally tearing him a new one, and then all of a sudden, Saka just stopped playing, and I think it was because Udogie went, "I can't make the tackle. I'm going to have to be clever." And I think it was Van de Ven at the time said, "I'll cover you." They literally had a conversation after 5 minutes, and that was it. And I think that's the biggest thing at the moment. He hasn't got the Van de Ven behind him, so he's getting exposed a little bit at the moment with Ben Davies there. But it's going to happen because of the way we're trying to play football. But yeah, all I'm going to say is in about 2-3 years' time, everyone's going to be chatting about how good of a left back he is, and I won't be surprised if teams come circling for him, especially like a Man City.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, what's your midfield looking like?
Have we got anybody? It's a Benson. So Basuma will be in there.
Okay.
I think he's going to bring in Sarr because Sarr came on yesterday, and I feel like Basuma's not been the same since Sarr's been injured either.
But they play together,
and they play together.
More defensive, or just
so he'll just sit just in front, so it'll just be like a line basically, just there, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think so. This is where I've been having a bit of conundrum. Now, for me, I think he's going to play Lo Celso, and he's got to play Lo Celso. Lo Celso's been our best player in the last 3 games, and every time if you might not know, this is what's going to happen on Sunday. He'll bring him off on the 60th minute. We'll be 1-0 up, and then you guys will score as soon as he brings off Lo Celso for skip. He's just done it in every game. So Lo Celso will just play in front.
Around here?
Yeah, around there. You'll have, so this is where I'm debating what he's going to do with Brennan Johnson and Kulusevski. We're all hoping that he puts Brennan Johnson on the right and he puts Kulu on the left.
Okay, what's the thinking in that?
So Brennan Johnson is so more, what's the word? He's much better on the right than he has been on the left. He goes missing when he goes on the left, and he doesn't get in very good positions. And we're better off when we've got the ball that both players are not cutting back. Yeah. They're better off when they literally have to get behind and they're putting the ball across. And I think our first goal against, Wolves, scored. There was a game where Villa was a prime example where he was on the right and he was literally making runs. And then we had to move him on the left because of injuries. And we just stopped playing again. So hopefully that's what he'll go with. And because of the injury to Son, I think Richarlison will be up top.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting team there. Chris, I'll come to you. What we're going for with Newcastle United, any surprise involvements? You normally do like a surprise now and again. I think maybe something might happen, but what are you thinking this time? We're such a short turnaround as well.
Yeah, do you know what? You're right. I do love a surprise, but I'm afraid the only surprises I see this weekend on the bench. I think we'll see some surprises on the bench. Or I hope we see some surprises on the bench. But for me, Pete, it's a very easy lineup. So I think it'll be Martin Dubravka in goal.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Tino Livramento at left back.
Okay.
I think it'll be Fabian Schär and Jamal Lascelles at centre back.
Yeah.
And it will be Kieran Trippier at right back. In the holding position, I think we'll go with Bruno Gomes.
Yeah.
Just in front of him to the right will be Louis Miley.
Louis Miley.
To the left, just in front of Bruno, will be Joe Linton.
Yeah.
And then left wing.
He'll be a big player.
Yeah,
he'll be a big player for us.
He will. He will. He's gonna come up against a more ferocious, I would call it, a more ferocious Tottenham midfield, because I think Basuma and Sarr, both very leggy, like to get about the pitch. So it will be a different battle to the one that he faced against Everton, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle works out. I think Anthony Gordon will be left wing.
Nope.
I think Miguel Almiron will be right wing, and Alexander Isak through the middle. Interestingly, boys, and we didn't speak about this on the Everton reaction show, I quickly realised within about 5 or 10 minutes why Miguel Almiron doesn't play on the left. Quickly realised that. Whenever we play with inverted wingers, don't we? And whenever they want to cut in, we all know Miguel Almiron hasn't got a right foot, and that's exactly why Miguel Almiron doesn't play on the left. But yeah, I just thought I'd add that in.
Yeah, he's easily dealt with, because you just force him down the line, and you either put the ball out for a throw in, or he's not the best of crosses, so his cross isn't going to be strong enough to create anything, and that's kind of the downside. Daz, I'll come to you, and then Keith, you have free reign to critique the both of them. Look, in terms of lineup, anything you would change? But actually, interesting question. Would you, in any way, shape, or form, switch Trippier for Livramento, knowing who's on the right or left, or would you stick with what it is currently?
No, I definitely stick with Trips where he is on the right and Livramento on the left. So I'll rule that out straight away. I don't see Hall coming in there instead of Livramento and resting Trips either, even though Marlon hates him from his days at Spurs. The only I'd agree with Chris's team. My only doubts are, as Yana put in the chat as well, is Lascelles, who got a knock. Would Kraft come in there? He came on the pitch as well to replace him in that game. I hope not. I hope it's Lascelles. I don't think we'll see Alex Murphy in there from the start or anything like that. So I get too excited about that one. Then it's the question of, I think what Chris has gone with would be correct. But if Longstaff is back, it'll probably from the bench. We'll see him, and if Wilson is back, we'll probably be from the bench as well. But even that factor alone could be a massive for us, because we'd have the opportunity to switch it up, get a bit more energy in there, and just the threat for Isak, then that Wilson is knocking on the door, and you could be out in your ear again for a while. But yeah, I think it's going to be like that, even though it's the fifth game in a row potentially with the same team apart from Dubravka. But yeah, that was so I aligned with Chris.
Okay, another question for you guys from a Newcastle perspective. There's been a lot of talk, and to be fair, Fox just put it in the chat actually, so I'll shout out you, Foxy, for this. Really interesting about the Lewis Hall situation. Seems like Howe really doesn't want to trigger that clause to make the deal permanent. The thing that I don't understand about that is that the clause was always there. They talked about that in the summer, that there was a clause that they had to meet certain requirements for that deal to be triggered. But that aside, could you see someone like Lewis Hall coming in and potentially playing some part, whether it's in midfield or whether it's at left back? Because having a natural left back is the aim for Newcastle United, and he does need some minutes at some point. Or do you just think there's a reason why he's not really getting many minutes at the moment?
We touched about Chris and myself touched on this in the kind of start towards the start of the reaction show, but we were kind of saying it was linked to would we rest Trips and then move Livramento to the right and bring Hall in, and we were kind of saying that it's not against Spurs, who are challenging for the top 7 along with ourselves. We won't have higher aims, of course. And this Champions League game, this do or die Champions League game, not the best time to start him. I would trust him, but I don't think so. I'd rather see him in the game against Fulham, that you throw him in there and to do that experiment, and then maybe rest Trips if Trips needs a rest. But Chris, maybe you have something different you want to say?
No, I agree with you, mate. I think Lewis Hall's a project, isn't he? For me, I think Lewis Hall is somebody who's shown a lot of potential. I think it was actually me who said on the show that after the Man City game, I could see why he's predominantly been, credited with being a left back, because I don't think he is a central midfielder. You probably could play him up where Gordon is on the left wing, but I think he's probably a player who just needs a little bit of time, and he needs to be placed in a team that is fully firing and where we have options. And at the minute, maybe Eddie Howe doesn't feel like this is the right moment for him. Like, he's only a young lad. We can't forget he's really, really young. And what we don't want to do is shatter his confidence or, ruin any potential that he has to become, a permanent Newcastle signing and the future left back. I do hope we do sign Lewis Hall, and I do think there's a lot of promise there. And we saw in some of the performances he gave for Chelsea, he looked a real player. But I do wonder whether the second half of the season is going to be his time. And then we'll start to see Lewis Hall really getting some game time. We've got a lot of games coming up. As I keep saying, the quadruple is still on, boys. So we're going to have to rest some players. And if there's an opportunity, to give Lewis Hall some minutes, then brilliant. But maybe a game like this wouldn't be the best time, especially if, the likes of Livramento and Trippier are still okay fitness-wise. I just don't think he'll throw him in the mix.
No, it's an interesting one. Keith, from your perspective, anything with regards to the lineup, but in particular, you've got Jamal Lascelles, you've got the Lewis Hall situation. Have you got a different opinion from what Daz and Chris have said on either of those things?
I'm afraid at the moment it's cut and paste FC, isn't it? At the moment, in the game. But I agree with the assessments, really, about the only change I could see maybe making is if there's a question mark or a doubt about Lascelles, and going with Kraft, really. I mean, hope that it isn't, because I think Lascelles has done quite well, deputising for Botman in Botman's absence. I don't think Paul will appear in this fixture. I think maybe it might. He may have come on as a sub at some stage, but I'd be more likely to think maybe that home game coming up against Fulham, maybe, if you're going to be playing them, as opposed to a game like this or the Champions League game and putting the expectation on him.
Yeah. It was with the cell, apparently it was a dead leg. And obviously it's not massively serious, but obviously when you've got a quick turnaround of games, it's hard to kind of get past the dead leg. But you would expect with the physios and the staff they've got in Newcastle that they could try and certainly make things playable for Lascelles. I mean, for me, I just don't see a dead leg keeping Lascelles out of the team. For a game like this, I do fully expect him to play. He might have some discomfort, but I do fully expect him to play.
And there was a concern over Gordon in the previous game as well, of the Man United, towards the end of the Man United game before, but he was still there at the Everton game, wasn't he? So
yeah, he had I think it was like a hip complaint. But Marlon, from your perspective, anything from Tottenham, and where do you see us? Where do you see, from your perspective, where do you see you getting the better of us on the pitch? Like what style of play is it going to be? And is there going to be a big moment in the game that you're going to capitalize, in your opinion?
Your goalkeeper. That's Nick Pope not being there, and a lot of the goalkeeper, like Vratka, he's okay-ish, but I think the goalkeepers that we've faced in the last couple of games have had to pull off big saves in big moments. I don't think he's going to do that. And if Nick Pope was playing, I'd be a bit more worried. So I think the goalkeeper is going to be a slight issue. And I think if we have got Sarr back, it's going to be our midfield. I think we'll overrun Gumira, Smiley, and Joe Linton in that midfield, and that's what we've been doing to most teams. Like I said, Eddie Howe's going to have to make a tweak in that second half if we do, and if he makes the right tweak, it will switch it back in your favour. But I think that's where we're going to get the most joy, in that middle of the park, because it won't be Basuma and Sarr, it'll be Porro, it'll be Udogie, it'll be Romero coming in, and that's going to be the bit you're gonna see from Spurs. It won't be those three that you're playing up against, and it's whether Joe Linton, Miley, and Guimaraes can cope with that. And I'll be completely honest, most teams haven't so far. It's just we've missed chances.
Marlon, I thought you were only going to play it for 20 minutes.
But and that's it. It will be the first 20 minutes, and then we'll let you back into the game, and then that will be it. It depends on Eddie Howe, because because every other team that we played in the last few weeks have had players to bring on. Like Villa were able to bring on Bailey. Take off, was it Bailey? Take off Bailey, because Diaby was just was able to make that slight change. West Ham were able to make the tweak last night as well. You guys don't have the players at the moment. You're a bit in a situation like us, and that's the thing where that's why I'm slightly confident with us going into this game, because you lot can't make those changes. It's either this 11, and that's kind of it. Unless you've got Wilson is coming back, then that might be the change that you'll be able to make. But how much are you going to risk him, considering you haven't got a big game coming up in midweek?
It's a fair point. So from this 11, Chris, where do you see Newcastle, breaking through? We didn't do it at Goodison, and it's likely to be the same 11 as we've talked about. Where do you see us breaking through against Tottenham and making the difference?
I think for me, I think it's down that left-hand side. I think Anthony Gordon owes us a performance. I think Anthony Gordon, the pressure will be off a little bit in terms of, he went back obviously to his hometown club, and I think he the nerves got the better of him, and I think he'll want to go out there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and really put up a performance. We know how good Pedro Porro is going forward. I think defensively, I don't know whether he's going to have to be careful not to be too adventurous, because Anthony Gordon will look to push Porro back as far as he can. And if Anthony Gordon's in a one-on-one with Christian Romero, I think as much as I hate Christian Romero, he's very rash. And I just wonder whether Anthony Gordon's going to be drawing fouls on the edge of that box and potentially causing issues. And as soon as Anthony Gordon's in that box, Christian Romero is going to be very careful. Because we do, and I don't think I'm unfair saying this, we do know that Anthony Gordon, if he feels something, he will go down, and it will give the referee something to think about. So I personally think that left-hand side, and obviously Tino Livramento at the moment, who is arguably our informed player, he will be really pushing up as well. So Brennan Johnson's got going to have to really track back and help Pedro Porro, because if he's up against Gordon and Livramento, he's in for a tough afternoon. The centre of midfield is an interesting one. I think that'll be the most intriguing battle on the day, because I do like that Tottenham midfield. I think it's strong. I think Lo Celso is a bit of an unknown quantity. He came to Tottenham. It didn't quite work out for him. He went out on loan and he's come back and he's done pretty well. So I think Lo Celso's obviously got a point to prove. I think it was at Villarreal he went to, Marlon. Yeah.
Villarreal, with Emery.
So I think maybe that experience of going to Spain has really helped him. He's come back with a new lease of life. Richarlison up top is interesting as well, because like we've said, we prefer Richarlison rather than Son, but Richarlison, we know that it's in there because we've seen him play for Brazil, and we know that there is a player in there. I just think he's not as prolific as Son, but if you give him an opportunity, he could take it, and maybe Richarlison will think, this is my chance now. This is my chance to really get into an Ange Postecoglou team. And he's probably a player that Ange Postecoglou would really like, actually, because he's a bit of a dog of war, isn't he, Richarlison? He's a terrier, and he doesn't give up, and he's constantly getting into battles, physical battles with his defenders. And he'll keep going and going and going. And as soon as he gets the bit between his teeth, and if he hits a little run of form, he could actually be quite a big player for Tottenham. So lots of interesting battles across the pitch for me. But I think particularly I'll be keeping an eye on the Pedro Porro and Anthony Gordon.
Definitely. Daz, Keith, anything to add for you in terms of the battle, where the battle could potentially be won with these two teams, certainly from a Newcastle perspective?
For me, I'm going to align with Chris on Gordon. I think he'll be the difference. But I would love to see Gordon win a free kick, trips step up, puts it in the back of the net, lifts up the shirt to say, "How'd you like that, Marlon?" That'd be lovely.
He hasn't done it so far, so I don't think he's going to do it.
Keith, anything from you?
Yeah, Newcastle are due a sort of good set piece, aren't they? Really high quality set piece. It's been a while since Newcastle have scored a direct set piece, so that would be interesting to see.
And Chips hit the bar recently, didn't he, Keith?
Yes,
Very good one.
And it's our weakest. It's our weakest thing. We've let more set pieces in the last couple of weeks than anything. It's all been about corners and free kicks.
Yeah, I'm looking at your team, and I'm seeing Romero. Davis is not too bad. Maybe a doggy, but I'm not seeing any good aerial prowess in your team.
There's nobody apart from Richarlison. There is nobody.
And
even Romero is debatable, but there is nobody in that team. And the one thing I disagree on with all of you, I don't think it's going to be on that left-hand side you're going to get the joy. It's going to be on your doggy side. And because of, for me, what's going to happen is I've put Brennan Johnson on that side, but I think Kulu's going to be on the right and Brennan's going to be on the left. The problem we've got, depending on who that midfielder is, your doggy's going to be exposed. And I think Almiron's going to get a lot of space and he's going to be where you're going to get the joy is if he's one-on-one with Ben Davis. And that's
Marlon, what's your doggy's right foot like?
He hasn't got one.
Right. Well, that's interesting because Miggy Almiron also doesn't have one. So if Miggy Almiron cuts in on his left, Udoggy's going to have to use his right foot. So I was just interested to hear that.
So because Porro this season, and a lot of people have exposed, like Porro's been the most. So what it is, Porro's won the most one-on-one tackles, I believe, statistically, but he's also been dribbled past the most as well. So it's a really weird statistic that he's got, but his defensive game has really picked up, especially in the last few weeks. So we have seen a change, and that's why I think it's going to be down the left. You're going to get more of a joy, especially now that Romero's back, then on that left-hand side.
Is Brennan Johnson going to support Pedro Porro enough? Or because the reason I'm asking that is because normally it's Kulu, isn't it, on the right? And I'm just, is that why you've put Kulu on the other side, thinking that Brennan Johnson would maybe help Pedro Porro more?
Well, no, I've put it more that because of, I think our right-hand side at the moment is probably where we're going to get the most joy if we're going to do anything compared to the left. And Kulu for us has been too predictable. And with Livramento, he's right-footed, isn't he? Yeah. Kulu will just cut back, and that's going to help Livramento every single time. We need to have Livramento trying to defend with his left foot, and the only way he's going to do that is Brennan Johnson on that side.
Just making those runs, just like a direct winger, isn't it? Just
exactly.
Whipping the balls into the box with Richarlison trying to get.
If Ange and the team have done their due diligence and saw that Livramento is going to be on the left, they have to put Brennan Johnson up against him and not put Kulu. Otherwise, we're not going to do anything.
Interesting.
Well, interesting you said about Miggy, because like Chris said, he hasn't got a right foot, and what he does, he'll run at a defender and he'll cut inside here and he'll look to either shoot in that area, make a run in between there, like I said, up against Ben Davis. Ben Davis will be committed in that position. And he likes to make the runs into that area. And it's the bit that I said on the review show, it's where the Trippier can find that ball and just going into, let me get a ball on the pitch. Come on. Makes sense. So getting those balls in to this area here. So Ndoggy, what I'm hoping is that he does like to come forward here, because you'll get Lewis Miley or whoever's playing on that side coming over to protect, but it's then playing that ball in. And like you said, what we want is here. Is him coming over to be exposed. It's going to give speed, space. Gordon's going to be making those runs into there where you'd expect him to. But it just opens up space to Isak, and that's hopefully where he will get the service. I mean, Miggy had an opportunity to play him in yesterday, straight after Everton scored the first goal. And it was an awful cutback with his left foot, but we need it to be better in there. But as we've seen at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium before, Miggy's capable of going on his own and than putting the ball in the net there. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. But we'll see on that one. But it's interesting, and we need a performance from him. We need a performance from him.
He needs to see the ballers more as well, Pete. I did have a bit of sympathy for him last night because he never really got the ball. I know there was a couple of opportunities where he was going forwards and it didn't quite pan out for him, but no balls in the box. For some reason, there was a reluctance to cross the ball last night. Not quite sure why. At one point, everyone was screaming, saying, just cross the ball. It just kept coming back across the 18-yard box, and I wondered whether Eddie Howard said that to them or something, but he was worried about the counter-attack. I don't know.
But that's the passive nature of the team, Chris. That's what I was saying, is that we were so passive, that rather than get the ball in and try and make something happen, we'd just rather keep possession. But what I would argue with that with Isak is he's got to come in here and ask for the ball. We need him on the board. Him being stuck up here and with these two marking him like they were at Everton, that's easily done. That's bread and butter for centre backs to mark Isak. He's not the strongest, but what he needs to be doing, he needs to be pulling them into positions here where he's getting the ball and then he's one-on-one, or he needs to be coming short, getting that ball from Gimenez into his feet to be able to turn. That's where you get him at his best. Or if defenders are being sucked up here, it's coming short, then going. And one of those guys, whether it's Shaw, Gimenez, or even Trippier, playing those balls in behind because he's got the pace to cause problems. So I would argue that he needs to do a little bit more off the ball too, and that's with that intensity. I want to see him pressing the goalkeeper with his kicks, but running with intensity, putting Romero and Ben Davis under pressure off the ball, because he was doing it a little bit. But as we talked about when we had the same conversation about Alan St-Maximin so many times last season, the season before, it's all right, two players doing the press, but if the third one isn't, it lets the team down. And when your top man isn't making that press and doing it with intensity, it's easily played behind. And Everton, who I say weren't great, were able to play past that all day long. And I just think that was the one thing that kind of let us down there. But yeah, the unknown you've talked about here, he's picked up form. Basuma's playing much better this season, but I think these guys are just as physical and just as able on the ball, and I think it'll be a good match, that's for sure. But let's see how this all unfolds. We'll leave it there. Right, we're just over the hour. If there's any pressing questions, Marlon, feel free.
Yeah, there's nothing major. I suppose Ian put in an early comment here. He says, how are we going to get the energy levels up in the squad? Monster right before the game. Sort you out.
We're in the same boat, so don't worry. we need do you know what? This game is so even. It's like unreal that we're both now in this situation. And actually, there's no excuses. Like, both teams have no excuses for losing, because you've got injury problems. We've got injury problems. We both got beat on Thursday. We both are not fit. Okay, you have a more important game coming up than we do. And that's probably the only bit that falls in our favour, is that you've got that game. And Eddie Howe's got to think about that on Sunday.
Yeah.
Do you think the game's going to start quite slow then? I know you said, Marlon, you start quite quick for those first 20 minutes. Do you think it may be a slower paced game because of the fact that we've only played a couple of days ago and players might be tired, and it might be maybe like a slow burner, into the game because players are trying to find their feet? What do you think?
So I would have said yes, but we tried to do it against Wolves, and we started fast against Wolves, and we were 1-0 up, and we tried to start fast. I just think we're just going to start fast no matter what. We're going to try and score 2 within those first 20 minutes, and we're literally going to come out because of everything that happened at Everton as well. Andrew will be telling them, just get at them. They're wounded. Get at them and try and see what you guys can get out of it, especially with the goalkeeper situation. He's played 1 game and conceded 3. He's not going to be confident. Get shots off.
Interesting.
Let's go to KH75. He says, sorry, but people seem to forget how old Trippier is. As for Spurs comments, he has played better since he left and went to Atletico Madrid and Newcastle.
I agree. I agree with that. I've got no. That's what. See, I'm still burnt by when he was at Spurs. I would admit, right? And I completely agree with that. What we've seen at Newcastle, like I've said before, if we had that Trippier, we'd have been laughing. We would have been absolutely happy, but we just didn't have it. The best that we saw of him was in an England shirt more than we saw of him in a Spurs shirt.
Yeah.
And then I could bring you up so many things that he did wrong for us in that season. When he left, we'd fallen at. We were just like, no, none of this no more. He made so many mistakes, so many.
Right, this will lead us nicely into the predictions because Foxy says Spurs worry me going forward with Son. They always take the lead in games, but we can get at them with Udogie. Romeo giving away fouls for fun. 5-5 incoming.
Ooh,
Foxy.
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, hopefully Son's not playing, so that's part of the argument,
Yeah.
which is a good. Hopefully,
I think he'll be on the bench. I think he will be.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll be on the bench.
You're convincing yourself now, aren't you?
I've got to. Otherwise,
He's gone from, I don't think he's going to play to, I think he might be on the bench.
He might be on the bench.
I didn't convince himself.
I'm seeing in a lot of my Spurs WhatsApp groups. They're saying that he's possibly could be on the bench, so that's why I'm kind of like, okay, he could potentially be there.
Hopefully, with all due respect, hopefully hobbling to show support. That's what we're hoping. No serious injury, but just hobbling for this game on Sunday. You know, when it hits 7 o'clock, he can be right as rain. All that, no. I've got a question for the Newcastle boys. Chris, Daz, Keith. If you had the option, would you start with Gordon and Isak, or Miggy, Gordon, and Isak, your front three, or would you start with Isak on the left, Wilson up top, and Gordon on the right? If you had the choice between those two starting threes, what would you go for?
Me personally, I would choose Gordon, Isak, Miggy, and the reason being is because I mean, guys, we've not had the bench for about 6 months. I want players on the bench where we know that we can turn it around. I do see the value in having Isak on the left and having Wilson through the middle because you want your two main goal threats playing. And I also really like Anthony Gordon on the left. So for me, I would pick the first three. So it would be Gordon, Isak, Miggy.
Can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think it's the third time tonight I'm agreeing with Chris Hall. What is going on? But yeah, for me, it's Gordon, Isak, and Miggy. But the reason being as well is that I would be hoping that I can take Isak off after 60 minutes and then bring Wilson off the bench, bearing in mind with AC Milan on the Wednesday, and just to give him a bit of a break.
Interesting. Very interesting. Keith?
Yeah, it's finally worked, hasn't it, Chris? All after these couple of years, he's started to brainwash everybody, and we're all under control now. But yeah, I'm in agreement as well. I think if you rush back too much, like if we were to start with Wilson, I just couldn't handle it. Another setback. So if he's there as an option, then have him as a sub, if anything, and you switch him for Isak, because again, you need to rotate them. You need to keep them both fit, don't you? So I would go with what's already working. You know, Gordon, one of the players of the season, if not the player of the season. You don't change that left side as well.
Yeah, fair play. No, just thought I'd put it out there.
What about you, Pete? What about you?
No, I'd probably stick with what I've got, what we've got, but I would like that to be an option after 60 minutes.
Yeah.
I think, as Marlon said, making that change would win us the game. But let's wait and see. Probably about that time to wrap up. We've already gone over an hour. We've got some good questions here. Thank you to everyone in the chat for sharing their comments. But now we get to predictions. Let's get to these predictions. I'm going to go. I'm gonna stay with my boys. I'm gonna hope that they're gonna bounce back and it'll be a 2-1 win. Just a narrow victory for me. But Chris, what are you thinking?
Do you know what? I feel like Keith was talking about brainwashing. I feel like Keith's brainwashed me because with this game, you'd always think goals. Like even before we came on the show, I thought goals. And then when Keith, I'm always someone who likes to kind of, maybe it's because I've got a betting kind of enthusiasm. But as soon as Keith said it hasn't finished 0-0 since the bloody Jackie Milburn days, I'm thinking, is it going to be 0-0? And like are both teams just going to cancel each other out? Because I think Marlon said at the start, it's one of those games where, you know, the draw, the win, the away win, I could see all three things happening. And I think everyone's like, oh, 4 click off on Sunday, you know, it'll be a big game. Newcastle can't afford to lose, Spurs can't afford to lose. And then it just finishes 0-0. I'm like, oh, okay. So do you know what? I'm going with Keith Roll this week. I'm going to say it's 0-0.
Keith hasn't even spoken yet. But I'll go next. Just thinking back to the time Joe Linton scored when the 1-0 in Spurs' new stadium, when we weren't expecting it. I'm going to go for a 1-0, and I'm going to stick with my joke. I'm going to say Trips for that free kick, because that'll just redeem himself as well after the Everton performance, and the arc will turn full circle, and also in the eyes of Spurs fans as well. Might be the dream scenario.
And then we go to Marlon, away fan, home fan, away fan on our channel. What you go for?
The last few times I came on here, I kind of went, I don't see Spurs winning. I think we're for the first time, because it is that even, as I said, I think we're going to win. We need to win. We can't. This will be. We can't go 4 games without winning at home. And I think Everton's our next home game after that, and that ain't looking good either at the moment. So I think we'll win. And I think we're going to do the opposite of what we've done in all the games. I think you guys will go 1-0 up. But I think what will happen is that you'll tire, and we'll end up catching you in the last 20 minutes ourselves. And I think we'll win 2-1.
Oh, 2-1. I see what you're doing there. Marlon. And finally, we come to Mr. Keith Roll.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I would just add about the 0-0 thing, Spurs haven't kept a clean sheet, I believe, in the Premier League since the back end of October. I think it was at Fulham, 2-0.
Yeah.
So that's about 6-7 games since Spurs have kept a clean sheet.
The G one, Keith. That's what you're saying.
And I mean, with Newcastle as well, I touched on previous shows the away clean sheets. The one you had won in about 15, 16 now in 16 games. So they're just, and I've touched on the issue in previous shows about the away form, which is a big concern moving forward, certainly if not now. I can see 2 results here. It's a 1, I'm not going to lie, I want this one out of the way. I've got bad feelings about this one. I can see 2 results. This isn't going to be like last season's game. It's going to be more like the season before, and I can see that. I can see Newcastle breaking their goalless away form, but I can see, sadly, a win to Tottenham, or if it really capitulates, I can see that as well.
Keith. Stop there, Keith. Don't go any further.
To be fair, Gary said exactly the same. Spurs 4-0. The confidence is not high in the loaded camp, in the loaded ultras camp at this moment in time. But look,
that'd be some 20 minutes, Pete, to go 4-1, 4-0 up in 20 minutes.
And gives them a bit of time to get it back though.
And one of the things that disappointed me in yesterday's game was Newcastle had a lot of the possession against Everton, highly percentage of possession, but couldn't really do as much with the possession. And it was all Everton with the shots, wasn't it, really? I mean, at some stage, especially in that first half. And that was like going back to the bad old days. So we need to get out of this spell and get some players back and get going again.
Yeah. definitely. And with Max, I think let's stay positive. Let's try and get the win. That would be such a boost going into AC Milan.
Yeah,
It really
will.
But no, I can see why. Because we just don't know what team's going to turn up.
The only thing I would say in the favour really is when Newcastle have had a bad result, like the Bournemouth one, they've bounced back. Can they do it again? True. Even if it's a point, it's better than nothing away from home. So can they do that after that capitulation against Everton?
That's a good point, that.
Interesting. But we will see. We will see. Thanks to everyone in the chat putting your comments in. And for sticking with us tonight for the double header. Make sure you go and watch the Everton review through gritted teeth, but watch it because there's some good conversations in there, I'm sure. And thank you to you, Marlon. Plug your channel. Where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, you can find me on South Ucois TV. We do a rival show on a Wednesday, and we are always looking for new. We've had 2 Newcastle fans on so far, but every Wednesday about 9:30 we talk to Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans and things like that. I'm not on it, but my 2 co-hosts are. So on a Wednesday, it's great. Come over on Sunday as well at 9 o'clock. We do a match reaction as well. So especially if we lose, we're great fun. But you can find me on Sunday. I'll be on We Are Tottenham TV doing the watch along for them 2 boys on that as well. So yeah, come over and check me over on there. But just a bit of a bad omen for you. Like, I've done that 3 times this season, 2 home games. We've won them 2-0, and this will be my 3rd. So
no, Marlon, no.
Just saying.
I need to go to on Sunday, Marlon.
I think you
Congratulations, Marlon! You were a winner. We've given you a prize for Sunday.
But now, the game. You got a ticket for the game. You need to go to the game instead.
Oh no, forget that. I do watch alongs now. they're much easier to take.
Brilliant.
But no, come over, find us there. You don't have to watch all our stuff that we do, but we do that rival show is probably the one. If you're going to come over, to come and watch, and we do try and vary the fans we get on. We don't have the same ones each week, and it's just really like random who we get on.
Fair play. Go and give it a watch and show some support to Marlon on his channel. As well, Keith, massive thanks to you for your stats, as always, and opinions on all things Newcastle. Hope you're wrong in your prediction, as I normally say most weeks.
I want to be wrong again. I've never wanted to be so wrong in my life for the last game. Just make us wrong again, please, Lord.
You know what to do anyhow. You know what to do. And obviously, boys, it's been a pleasure, as always. That's for sure. And I think give a shout out to our sponsors on the way out. Radiatorshed.com. Thank you to Russ and the team for all their support. I think it's about right we put Marlon in prison. I think that's where you need to be, so you're not there on Sunday. Therefore, you're not looking at anything Newcastle United Tottenham related. But massive thanks to Russ and Radiator Shed. They provide top quality materials, all designed and manufactured in Italy, and aluminium rads are environmentally friendly as well. I don't think I have the pictures that you've got, Daz. I think you've got all the other ones on the other brand, but there's a few.
Check out the brochure on the radiatorshed.com. You get all the latest pictures as well if you're in the market for radiators.
There you go. And you got bathroom design H2O. Massive thanks to those as well. Our other sponsor, the Northeast largest suppliers of Villeroy and Botch bathroom wear. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established and ran by the family. So make sure you get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate in Gateshead. We'll give Marlon a shower while he's there, whilst we look at some of the fantastic bathrooms that are available. So make sure you get involved in that as well. If you haven't already, make sure you scan and sign up for our free NUFC newsletter, only from Newcastle World. Jordan, Liam, and the team. Make sure you show some support for those guys too. That's it, lads. Hopefully, we get the 3 points on Sunday. Let's wait and see. Hopefully, some of our predictions are right. Hopefully, some of them are not. Hopefully, some of them are not. But look, let's wait and see. But hopefully, we show a performance where we're going in the right direction. That's the most important thing. But until then, we do love playing away. Chris, take us away, fella.
How'd you like that?
How you like?